Hello, I'm Chris, you're watching FRAG-MENTAL, thanks for joining me. So I recently popped my head into a TKMAXX store and I was shocked, I tell you, to see premium luxury brands like Creed and Tom Ford's Private Blend on the shelves. How cheap were they, and does it cheapen a brand by being in a bargain rack store? The TKMAXX I went to was one in Leeds. It's the next city over from where I live, so it's not my local TKMAXX, which isn't the best, but the Leeds one seems pretty good. They seem to get the prime cuts of all the fragrances. They've got some niche brands in there. I picked up a really nice florist set a few weeks ago. They've got some other florist fragrances in there. They seem to have tons of Dolce & Gabbana. They had loads of Light Blue and Pour On. Reasonable discounts, nothing dirt cheap, but you know, reasonably discounted all the same. But the thing that shocked me the most, alongside a lot of these cheaper brands, were premium luxury brands. I know Florist was in there, I do class them as a premium luxury brand, but for some reason, seeing brands like Creed and the Tom Ford Private Blend line in a bargain store, it triggered something in me and it made me start asking questions. Not there and then in the store, that might have come across as a little bit weird and I may have got thrown out. The questions on my mind, I'm gonna go through with you in this video. But first, let's look at what actually was on the shelves. Got a little bit of footage of that and we'll look at the prices and see, were they the cheapest in TKMAXX or were they cheaper online elsewhere? Let's start with the Tom Ford Private Blend fragrances that were there. They had so much rose prick, like all the rose prick. More rose prick than Tom Ford stores have out on the shelves. TKMAXX was selling them for £200. That's pretty pricey for a 50ml, but the full retail on rose prick is £265. The next cheapest I found was Argos, a catalogue store here in the UK, selling them for £223. From what I could gather from a little bit of searching, the TKMAXX price was indeed the cheapest. I actually quite like the fragrance, but not enough to spend £200 on 50ml. I think most of my Tom Ford Private Blend fragrances, and I've got quite a few, I bought as full or nearly full partials on Facebook groups, so I got them for way cheaper than that. Unless it's a fragrance that I really adore, that I don't already have, I wouldn't be prepared to pay £200 for 50ml. It's got to be a fragrance that blows me away, and as much as I think rose prick is pretty decent, it doesn't blow me away, so I wasn't very tempted. What do you think? £200 for 50ml? I know it's the cheapest. Is it still too much? Would you pay that? Have you paid full retail for any Tom Ford Private Blends? Let me know if you have. But I still think, in my mind, £200 was a little pricey, so I didn't pick it up. And it seems like most people weren't picking it up because there were so many of them, unless they'd literally just been put out there that morning. But there were a lot of pricks on there. The next Private Blend fragrance that was on the racks was Lost Cherry. There were nowhere near as many bottles of that as there were rose prick. I can't think people were buying that and not rose prick, because I actually think rose prick is probably a better scent, and Lost Cherry is more expensive. Even in TKMAXX, they were selling 50ml for £220. Again, bit of a saving there on full retail, which is £265. The next cheapest I could find was Sephora UK, and that was £229. So the TKMAXX price was coming in, from what I could tell, as £10 cheaper than anywhere else. I must stress cheaper and not cheap, because I would not pay £220 for 50ml of Lost Cherry. My joke about Lost Cherry is that as soon as you spray it on, it's lost, it's gone. It lasted 5 minutes on me. I know other people love it and say they get better performance, but I can't help it if I lose it faster than other people. So for me personally, £220 for a fragrance that, I don't know, maybe lasts 30 to 60 minutes. No way, no thank you, not happening ever. So what about that one? Would you spend £220 on 50ml of Lost Cherry in TKMAXX? Let me know. The last Private Blend that I saw was the one that tempted me the most, because this is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. Do you want to have a guess what it was? Well done, you got it right. It's Tom Ford's Oud Wood. So they were selling the 100ml bottle of that. There was only one of these, so I feel like maybe a few had already been purchased. It was £200. So that's £200 for 100ml of Tom Ford's Oud Wood. It is in the slightly lower price bracket of private blend fragrances as opposed to Rose Brick and Lost Cherry, which tend to be in the higher private blend price bracket. So £200 for 100ml, yeah, I was tempted because I love Oud Wood so much, and that's not a bad price actually. I do have a 50ml of Oud Wood. I still have loads of it left, so I didn't feel like I particularly needed to buy more Oud Wood right there and then. Full retail on 100ml of Oud Wood is £265. The next cheapest after that was All Beauty, which was £258, so not much of a saving there at all. Sometimes All Beauty can be amongst the cheapest of anywhere, so I was surprised that that was only very slightly discounted. And then we had Sephora selling it for £235. So TKMAXX were selling that for £35 cheaper than the next cheapest. So tempted, I didn't pull the trigger. I think if you don't own Oud Wood and you know that you love the fragrance, then £200 for a 100ml bottle is a pretty decent price. I don't think you're really going to find it much cheaper than that at retail. If you want to buy a bottle in Facebook groups, second-hand bottles, partial bottles that are 3/4 full, maybe nearly full, then I think you'll get a much cheaper price than that. But in a store, brand new, in its packaging, you even get a free crappy little TKMAXX plastic outer box, probably worth the £200 alone. But if you know you like Oud Wood, then £200 for 100ml. If you want it brand new, full bottle, I think that was quite a decent deal. Another brand I was surprised to see in TKMAXX, I've never seen them in there before, was Eccentric Molecules. There were two different Eccentric Molecules fragrances. They were discounted from £72, which for 100ml is not a bad full retail price actually. I think Eccentric Molecules offer fairly decent value for money. We're talking, you know, normal designer prices there. They were selling it for £50. I was tempted by these, but I wasn't familiar with these two particular fragrances and I didn't just want to blind buy them. And obviously in TKMAXX there is no tester. Can you imagine if I'd have stopped one of the TKMAXX sales assistants and said, excuse me, do you mind bringing some blotters and maybe some coffee beans so I can test out these fragrances before I buy them? I think she would have told me to shut up and directed me towards the Superman underpants on the next rack over. Now let's get to Creed, because for the first time ever, I saw Creed dangling off the little racks. And by the way, I know I say rack store, and that's more of an American term, but I quite like it, so I'm adopting that. I'm bringing rack store over to the UK, and I think you all know what I mean anyway. So I'm not trying to be American, I like the way it sounds. And you know, we have racks and we have stores in the UK, so just combining two words that we use in the UK, I think is perfectly acceptable, don't you think? Anyway, so Creed was there, Creed Viking. I saw this in my local store. They had one bottle there, tucked away. I nearly left the store and it was just not in the fragrance section, it was in the male grooming section. They had a couple of fragrances there. So Viking was tucked away there. But in the Leeds store that I went into, they had 4 or 5 Creed Viking fragrances in there. The retail on those was £169.99, £170. Now, that is cheaper than full retail, which is £210 for the 50ml bottles. So TKMAXX offering a saving there of £40. The interesting thing with this was when I Google searched Creed Viking, the cheapest price in the UK for a UK store that came up online was All Beauty, and that was listed at exactly the same price, £169.99. So what's going on there? Have Creed set a discount price that nobody can go lower than? Or are All Beauty supplying some to TKMAXX? I don't know, but it just seems strange. It was listed at exactly the same price. So if you're in the market for Creed Viking, then that's probably about the cheapest you're going to get it to buy it new. You could buy a used bottle online. I'd say Facebook groups rather than eBay. eBay can be a little bit riskier because you don't know if you're going to get a fake. You're more likely to get a fake. Facebook groups, for the most part, are definitely more trustworthy. I did not purchase it because, as much as I love Creed Viking, I have my own 50ml bottle, and it takes me ages to make a dent in any of my bottles these days because I don't know which to choose when I go to these shelves behind me. You know my dilemma about that, you know, tough decisions in life when you have shelves and shelves of fragrances. So I did not need any more Creed Viking. I've stuck with the 50ml bottle that I have. It is a beautiful fragrance. I think overall, my favorite Creed. Aventus is amazing. If I could only have one fragrance ever that would be suitable for everything, I may go Aventus, but of all the Creeds, I think probably I enjoy Viking the most. I don't know if anyone in TKMAXX had been buying them. There was some empty spaces next to where the Vikings were, so I don't know if that was originally all filled with Creed Viking or if no one had been buying Creed Viking, so I have no idea how popular they were. Certainly no one seemed to be eyeing them up or checking out the prices of them whilst I was there. But whilst I was standing there looking at these Creed Viking bottles dangling off the rack in a store, I started thinking, Creed are a very prestigious luxury brand. They've perfumed for kings and queens. They've been established since 1760, so they say. And there they are, dangling on a shelf in a bargain rack store. There's just a little bit of a contrast between the experience of visiting a Creed boutique and then seeing Creed fragrances just dangling there in a bargain store. Not a good look for Creed, I don't think. From premium as it gets, to practically bargain bin. Now I know the prices aren't bargain bin because 170 for 50ml is still a lot of money, but the whole experience, that sort of store, the hustle and bustle, especially at Christmas time, hundreds of people just piling into these stores and rifling through these crappy plastic cases, just trying to scrabble to get the best deals. And there's Creed just getting caught up in all that, in that frenzy of people just elbowing each other out the way to find bargains. Is that what Creed should be associated with? How does this happen? One of the most premium niche brands in the world, dangling so unceremoniously in a bargain store. Incidentally, I am being a little bit hypocritical about this because I picked up my bottle of Creed Viking from the Tino. I got a discount on it. It was £137 for 50ml. So that was cheaper than anywhere else. That was cheaper than TKMAXX. And I thought that was a really good price. After paying that, I could not bring myself to paying £175 for a 50ml bottle in TKMAXX. So I'm curious to understand what happens in this situation. And if anyone knows how these premium fragrances end up in TKMAXX stores, please do enlighten me, because I'm wondering, do Creed supply directly? Do BlackRock just dump a certain amount for discount? Maybe they just throw some onto the grey market and then they get just distributed by online discounters and high street discounters. Whatever happens, however they end up there, it must all be above board, it must all be legal. So if you've got any insight into how these fragrances end up in these rack stores, then let me know, because I'd be really interested. Just by way of comparison, can you imagine a Roger Parfums fragrance dangling there in a rack store, hanging on for dear life, clinging onto some semblance of dignity? Maybe even Roger would make an appearance to help promote sales. I don't think so. Can you imagine a bottle of Amber Oud just hanging there in one of those cheap, crappy plastic boxes? I don't think Roger would want to go there at all, but why did Creed? I wouldn't have thought Creed would have wanted to go there, but they seem happy to do it. Or maybe they don't have any control over it. I don't know. I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit here for the sake of discussion. Don't get me wrong, if I saw a crazy discount on a really high-end luxury brand, I'd grab it, of course, but I would still question whether I felt the same about that brand as I once did. For example, seeing those bottles of Creed Viking in TKMAXX has made me sort of, it's tarnished my view just a little bit. It's just taken a tiny little chip out of the prestige of Creed for me. I'm going to be honest, I'm still going to love this fragrance, obviously, and you know, it's nothing I'm going to cry over, but it's in my mind now. It's in my mind. What do you think? How do you feel about seeing Creed fragrances dangling there in such an undignified fashion? I'm sure many of you out there don't give a crap. If it's cheap, it's good. Doesn't matter about the premium experience at all. But I'm sure some people, maybe Creed purists, Creed collectors, do you think that your beloved brand has cheapened itself by being available in these stores? Is this the beginning of the fall of the House of Creed? Probably not. But surely Creed hanging there in those crappy plastic boxes next to bargain basement cheapies, it's not a good look, I don't think. That's it from me today. If you've got any input on anything that I've raised in this video, please do drop some comments down below. I'd love to have a little bit of a conversation about it. If you like this video, you know what to do. Give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you do all that, I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.